number one reason couples struggle is not what you think. We often think that the reason couples struggle is finances, though that's a leading cause of divorce. Sex problems can also be a significant cause. Communication, values misalignment, stresses of life setbacks. I would argue in my couples work, when I'm dealing with high stakes couples that are really smart, really accomplished, amazing humans in many regards, but they're struggling and they're in a really deeply rigid, stuck state where I had a client where the husband could not make eye contact with the wife for 2 months. Literally would not make eye contact. I've had couples where when we start the session, they're sitting 3 feet apart. Their energy is like frosty, or they're in explosive outburst and anger, all the time. It feels like I'm always at the time, until we get into the work, leading up to it, they're in fight after fight and threat after threat and deep self-protective mechanisms. The number one reason couples struggle is not what you think. Obviously, the books, the experts will talk about sex problems, communication problems, finance problems, life stressor problems, like when you go through too many life setbacks, which I have a lot of clients that have gone through several, like the client I saw yesterday, a couple in crisis, had 3 major, massive, life-altering setbacks in 1 year. And it was in the middle of COVID. And so let's make it 4 when you're dealing with that sort of dynamic. And when you have all these challenges, we think it's these things that are showing up, but the actual secret is not what you would think. It's not just improving your communication. It's not just getting finances right, though that has an impact. It's not just getting your sex life right. It's not just dealing with life challenges and adding more support, though all those factors are important and ultimately are critical for long-term success, so that you are not carrying all the stuff in there, right, into your marriage. But the number one solution, the starting point, is actually connection. For example, the couple I was with yesterday, they were sitting 3 feet apart. They did not want to touch each other. They barely would make eye contact. There was resentment, seething resentment. There was walls up. There was withdrawal. There was attacking. There was a little bit of name calling. And I've seen a lot of couples, I've walked in and I'm like, whoa, this relationship is frosty or explosive, where I'm gonna have to put them in separate rooms. But until I get them into a connected, empathetic state towards each other, the other stuff doesn't work. That client yesterday, after his 2nd dose of MDMA, he wasn't feeling the medicine because he was feeling this struggle, this wall, this fear of judgment. But once I brought them together and they finally physically connected, and he could see, it started with some emotional connection of seeing that she's not there to attack him. She wanted him there. He could start letting his walls down and recognizing that I can be present to this woman. And I was also communicating that I'm going to guard him. I'm going to protect him. I'm going to be a good referee. And I'm going to be a good referee for them both, because they both are there. They wanted to solve this, and neither one of them wanted a divorce. They wanted to be connected and love, and they just got deeply entrenched in self-protectionism that got further and further along the way, meaning they were more and more protective of themselves, less and less vulnerable, less and less curious, more judgmental of the other, more reactive, more defensive, more scared of being hurt, more protecting their own interests in case it goes sideways. So we got to get into connection emotionally, connection mentally, connection physically, connection spiritually. If we get into connection with empathetic understanding, now I've got an empathy bridge from, in my spouse dynamic, if I've got an empathy bridge to my wife and her to me, where she feels seen, heard, and validated, and vice versa, it can't be just one way. It has to be both ways. Connection has to go both ways, heart to heart. I need an empathy bridge to my spouse. She needs an empathy bridge from her heart to my heart. And when I'm doing that with clients, I have to help them build an empathy bridge with building trust that I've got them, trust that they can vulnerably open up a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more, and that they won't be under attack, and that I have to help them align and become aware of the other party's good intent, their desire for loving connection. All right. So once the connection is established, everything can flow downstream, because it's like both lines. You know, the old days, you would call up, like my dad's family was from Germany. So we'd call his mom once a month and say hi to Oma, right? And if she didn't pick up the phone, there's no connection from her phone line to our phone line. Same thing in our hearts. We've got to have that connection that allows our words to land differently. We can say the same thing with the same tonality, the same energy, and it can have a radically different effect if we are starting with connection. Okay? So most couples work, I got to get them ultimately into connection to begin the repair process and to begin the rebuild process. Connection is where it starts. We solve the connection problem, finances can be handled, sex can be handled, communication can be handled, emotions can be handled, trauma can be handled. You can move through difficult, crappy things that we go through in life together. Kids can be handled, love can be rebuilt. So I hope that all makes sense. Connection is the solution, my friends. Work on it daily. Don't delegate it. That is your highest and biggest calling if you're in a relationship.